Emergency podcast. Betty did a thing, so we gotta talk about it. Emergency podcast. It's an emergency. Emergency podcast. Shut up, hell yeah, shut up, hell yeah, shut up. Emergency podcast. It's an emergency.
We're here with Max Bretos, who is going to be calling the All-Star game on Sirius XM FC. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. But first, Max, since you also do calls on Apple TV, wanted to ask you just first of all, how has this season been different from other MLS seasons before it? Thinking about for you and then for just kind of league-wide, what you're seeing in this. I guess it's an anniversary year, right? We're celebrating the initial year and the blue and green ball and all that.
A lot of anniversary kits. Anniversaries popping everywhere. 30 years for MLS. We were just doing a Timbers game. They're celebrating half a century. Last year we did the Sounders. So for such a young league, it's nice to gravitate towards that history, which we need. Part of our appeal is that we're young and we're learning along, and we adapt to new things, technology, and whatever that, and we're very original in that way. The balance is important because the history kind of plugs into the fan base, which is the lifeblood of this league. But to answer your question, me and Brian Dunseth, who's my partner, we're kind of like the West Coast Bureau, so we focus on games in the Pacific and Mountain Time Zone. We did a bunch of games for Austin FC. I hope we'll get some games coming up here in the back end of the season. But we've also, it's also good to see how the other half lives because it's such a big league. We had some East Coast games earlier in the season. We still do. And just from the Apple perspective, I think they're dialing into, they're obviously learning. First 2 years, I think year one, they just had to get the product out there. In year two, they didn't make too many changes. But I think in year three, you see with the Sunday night soccer, which is like a tent pole event, I think that's something that has done very well for them. I would imagine in the years to come, they might have something similar to that. I don't know what it is. I'm not privy to that information, nor do I want to be. I just do what I'm told by and large. So I think that's something that they're very happy about. So you see that. The other big one I think is coming up with Leagues Cup, and how they have really, dialed into the meat and potatoes and listened to the folks about interrupting the season, which no one really liked from both leagues' perspective. So they've gotten away from that, and they've made it a little bit more exclusive from the MLS perspective, and they've made it more MLS League MX. So with the matchups, which is what everybody wants, which is what the clubs want, because they know that's what's appealing to their fan bases. That's what's going to get people into the stadiums. So things like that, I think, are showing that Apple is and MLS are adapting to a better product, and I think even with the Leagues Cup trimming some games too, which is important because we live in this age where everyone's like more games. Everyone's going to have to find a way to trim the fat for lack of a better expression. So I think those things, and otherwise it's been just kind of really dialing into those games, and we're thrilled to be getting to go on the road. There are some remote broadcasts, but by and large, most of the games are done from site, and we love that because it keeps us connected to. Look, the best thing about MLS is the stadiums. The best thing is like if you can go to Austin or Cincinnati or LAFC, soon to be in Miami and New York City. This is a tourism opportunity to be able to go to these games and watch a soccer game and see a Lionel Messi or an Evander or whoever else comes down the pike. That's the best part. So it's been wonderful. I don't take that for granted at all. So those things continue to grow and snowball into a better product.
Okay, great. And then just emerging storylines for you that we should be paying attention to as we move towards the playoffs. We're about 2/3 of the way through the season right now. You have obviously a sense of the contenders who are there. You obviously have teams like the Galaxy that had some reshuffling and have had some falling off. We got to see them pretty recently. Again, that Austin LA love is alive and well, apparently. So just thoughts about where you kind of see things going heading into the playoffs, teams to watch, players to watch, that sort of thing.
I think the group in the East is really compelling, and it's developing in the West, the top. So the East, I think, has a very defined top with the two Ohio teams, Inter Miami, Nashville, which has been a really pleasant surprise.
Mhm.
BJ Callahan, who's a rock star now, is a coaching candidate. Without the coaches that we have here, these head coaches, this is an incredible crop, not just American, but international coaches. I think it says a lot about the technical directors that they've gone out and found these guys that have done a really good job. I think that's something that we've also seen in MLS: bigger staffs, more eyeballs for the product, certainly with Austin FC, and still working on that, but to see what they did in the offseason to really build this team, and the future is very bright there. But the coaches, they're very good. But the East, and I would put Orlando there. I think they've had a couple of bad results. Really good
Mhm.
teams. And then the West, we'll see what happens with San Diego and Vancouver. My guess is they'll certainly, and Minnesota, which are all three legit surprises. I think most people thought it would be Seattle, LA, LAFC, the Galaxy, obviously, who it could be a lesson for the league on how to protect defending champions with roster rules, etc.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's all in vain that what the Galaxy are going through. I think everyone's noticed it, and I think that's something that the league has to try and avoid, because part of it is self-inflicted, but part of it, and injuries, but part of it is they couldn't keep that roster together. So hopefully, and I know everyone talks about the salary cap, and I'm sorry I'm going off on a tangent. I don't think it's so much about giving these teams more money. It's just to be able to be more flexible, at least for now, so that they don't have to go through such a massive pivot in the offseason. Getting back to that answer, I think the West is going to start defining itself with some top teams. And the good part is we don't really know, because talking to all these clubs over the last few weeks, there's like 10, everyone, even the teams in the middle, they're all looking to be active in this summer market. So I say buckle up. So whoever you support, buckle up. Even teams that don't have flexibility, it's going to be a land rush here for talent. And I think by the time things settle at the end of August, let's say,
Mhm.
there's going to be a flood of good players here, and that will determine, I think, by and large, who will be there at the very end. But it's going to be a fun late. I don't want to call it a second half. A very fun final third here to the season.
Okay, great, good. And then obviously you're going to be coming to town for the All-Star game and calling it for Sirius XM. Just wanted to know what it means to you, what the opportunity is going to be like. Tony Miola, of course, is going to be in the broadcast booth with you. I remember when Austin was first rumored to be getting a team when Anthony Precourt was doing his move. Did an interview with him on his show that he had back in the day with Dunny. That was interesting. And just, yeah, I remember the final thing I said to him in that interview was, don't hate us. And a lot of people in Columbus ended up hating us for a while. So, but it all worked out. But just again, obviously game was in Columbus last year. We expected Messi would be there. Still waiting to see if he is indeed going to walk through that Q2 stadium door, but certainly think that's an exciting aspect of it. And just what you're looking forward to, aside from obviously the Messi effect as we head into that game on Wednesday. And of course, the skills challenge on Tuesday before that.
It crept up on me, but Pete Curry, the executive there at Sirius XM FC, told me many months ago we're doing this, and now it's here. And I'm getting a little nervous because I got to prep. And I haven't really worked with Tony. I've done some shows with Tony. I haven't really worked with him in a booth setup, so I'm looking forward to that. I've called so many of his games, not to age myself, but I did. It's true. So the All-Star game, it's always fun to see how it's evolved, and they have a unique aspect. A couple years ago, they had Arsenal, but they went back to this
Mhm.
Liga MX setup, which I think is the way to go, because if you have a league that is interested in this all-star format, I mean, all-star games are American to the core. No, the
Sure.
Premier League, the Saudi League, the Argentine League, they don't have these. Whether they're great or not, most people don't tune into an all-star game the same way they tune in to see their favorite team. We understand that. But it's a nice way to celebrate. And I think MLS is doing some smart things to make it unique and different. And the certainly playing the Liga MX, because I've been on the sideline. I was there in DC a couple years ago, and you could just see how intense it can get. Or not DC,
Mhm.
the prior year, which escapes me, but
Minnesota.
with the Liga MX, Minnesota, yes,
Yeah.
and where it gets intense on there, so they don't want to lose this. And I think that result matters to a degree. I see what the NHL has done. I don't know if there's something MLS where you can make this national teams. I don't know if that works for MLS, but
Mhm.
this will continue to evolve. So I enjoy seeing that it's close to what the NHL does, because you're playing for your league. For me personally, I love walking around the city and just seeing people in our industry. Everyone's there. You can do months of networking and keeping up appearances in 2 days. So, from a professional perspective, it's very valuable. And I say this in all earnesty, and I know this is for an Austin audience, but the best part about what's happening next week is that it's in Austin, which is
Mhm.
wonderful city and a wonderful MLS city. Smart MLS fans, ones with an appetite, ones that will not just sit there on their hands and cheer for their team, but they'll get really their hands dirty and challenge the team. And then the city itself, which I think this is the profile of clubs that, or cities. I don't know how many Austins there are out there because it is unique in so many ways that MLS should go for. I remember talking to some of the Fox execs when it was on linear TV. When they had Austin games on, they had a great TV number because the folks there would tune in. So in stadium, over the airwaves, in person, Austin is just fantastic. And just as selfishly to go visit and the culinary aspects and the cultural aspects, it's tremendous. And I'll say this about Austin, which is also very exciting because we've always had this, the big stars, they want to come to LA and New York and now Miami. I think people get a taste of Austin. Some big stars will go, what? This is where I want to go. That's still a work in progress, but Austin's a very exciting club for the league, and this is a great city to have part of our landscape where no other professional team, a major professional sports team exists.
Yeah, I was going to give you a question where you could just openly do a love letter to Austin, but you've kind of already done that. But are there restaurants that you want to go back to, or are there things that you want to see, places that were on your list to get to maybe last time or the time before that you haven't quite gotten to yet?
I know when y'all go there, it says go to Terry Black's barbecue, which is amazing. But I'm trying to remember there was one in downtown, and I'll tell you the one thing about the barbecue
Mhm.
uh, about Austin because I keep getting brisket in so many places. Oh, it's Cooper's. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's the highest rated one, but I was a really hot day and I rolled into Cooper's downtown
Mhm.
and I got some brisket, sausage, and ribs, and it was phenomenal. And then I washed it down with a couple frosty cold ones, and I
Uh-huh.
was just in nirvana because I was
Yeah.
just it was a perfect balance of sweet and sour. And the brisket that I've had in so many places, I think Austin has mastered it with the grease fat content because I've been
Mhm.
craving it, whether it's wherever I've gone. There's something about how, how it's prepared where it's a little fattier, where
Right.
it's so much tastier. I think people are trying to make leaner. I'm going way off on a
Yeah.
tangent here,
No,
but
this
they're
is
trying
good.
to make a leaner. They're trying to make a leaner brisket, and that's a
Right.
huge mistake because
Yeah.
you don't eat barbecue every day. So when you do, you want to treat yourself to the one
Yeah.
that's going to
Well,
make you have to take a shower afterwards.
yeah, you can specifically order moist or lean. Those are actual brisket
Yeah.
orders in Texas. So you can A/B test that next time you're here. And Cooper's is
Well, I
pretty
didn't know that,
legit.
but I will
Yeah.
test it. Yeah.
Yeah, Cooper's is pretty legit. They're originally from Llano. It's should be Llano, but we're Texas, so it's Llano. It's kind of
Okay.
out in the
Well, I
hill
didn't know
country a
that.
ways, but yeah, but they have a downtown spot. But obviously Franklin, I
And
mean,
I've
you have
never been
to
to
kind of
Franklin's. I've never been to
you got to
Franklin's. I need
commit
to
to
do
the
that too.
line a little bit, so that's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
There's a place called Micklethwait. The TH is silent. They're over on the east side. I've got friends that run that. That's pretty incredible as well. I don't know if you're going to necessarily be there on the days that they're open, but if you are, I would definitely recommend that one. There's a little plug for my pals. So
I get in late Monday, and I think we're wheels up Thursday. I have to head out to
oh,
Charlotte
okay,
for the
yeah,
next MLS
you
game.
may miss it. Unfortunately, you'll have to. Yeah, next time you're here.
I'll be back on a more personal level. My wife loves it there. She's identified Austin as where she'd like to live next. She's got some friends there. Austin is like very in the Beltway for us. So we'll see
Okay,
what happens. We love it there.
okay. Give me a couple of players in the All Star game that you're particularly looking forward to seeing. I mean, obviously, there's been some replacements. We're not exactly sure who necessarily is going to be off the roster now. Obviously, unfortunately, Brandon Vasquez is going to be one of those players off the roster after his ACL injury, but certainly some good folks to look at. So just got to give me maybe three or four names of either MLS or Liga MX players that you're really excited to see.
I want to start with Liga MX because we don't see them enough. We'll get a good taste of that during the League's Cup. But Gilberto Mora is someone I think everyone should look into. He's a Ballon d'Oro nominee with the League's Cup. I think 16. We got to see him in the Gold Cup. He is the next big thing out of Mexico, this incredible prospect that plays at Club Tijuana. I don't want to put too much pressure on the kid, but I want to see him up close. And that's something that
Mhm.
is very appealing. I think Liga MX has had a great year with, you look at what Monterrey did, making the round of 16 in the Club World Cup, getting a point against Inter, moving ahead of River Plate, pushing Dortmund to the end. They could have easily been into the quarterfinals. That's a club that with Sergio Ramos, and Sergio Ramos will be there. Obviously, that's a guy
Mhm.
I'm very excited to see up close, a legendary figure. But this is the best Liga MX roster, and it's because of what Monterrey has done. America is a big ticket item. They're going to have, I don't know if he's the biggest draw because Brian Rodriguez, who played in MLS, there's rumors that he might be coming back to MLS, but these kind of players that have a connection to two are very good. And also Alejandro Zendejas, who has a USMNT connection. So truly, I'm a little more excited just because I don't see them as much for the Liga MX roster. So that's a very good group that we can see. For MLS, we all want to see Messi. And look, it'd be such a game changer, even if he doesn't play or if he's just here and he's walking around. And look, if he's there in the line at Franklin Barbecue for 2 minutes, whatever it is, in whatever capacity, I would like to see it. But this, and I feel for Brandon Vasquez, I feel terrible for the fact that he won't be able to participate in this. And obviously he's out for a long time and injuries are just a reality here. We give our best to Brandon, but I'm sure he will be a big part of this in some capacity. And so will Austin FC and their players. Evander has been outside of Lionel Messi, and even if you include Lionel Messi, he's been the best player in MLS. This is a great moment for him to showcase his skills, and this is a very important player for MLS. A guy who could easily be a playmaker in any of the top Brazilian teams. He plays here, he's happy. We need him to look and showcase him so players of this profile can continue to come to MLS. So I think Evander in this all-star capacity, and maybe he can tell his fellow Brazilians, we're adding more Brazilians. If we have more Brazilians in our league, the better. I think that's fantastic. You have a really good one there as a fullback in Austin. That's a profile we need to keep going. And then Obed Vargas. I like to see the young kids. Obed Vargas was a late ad. He is arguably the best young player we have in MLS. It's not the sexiest position, but if you're trying to get into soccer, watch what Obed Vargas does if you get to see a Sounders game. Just focus on him and you'll see the kind of level of player he is. And hopefully that we'll be able to develop, even though he represents Mexico. He's from Alaska. And it's great because we have players from Alaska. We have players from Alabama. We have players from everywhere that we never used to recruit from, just showing the growth of the league.
Yeah, and I think he's the only Sounder on the roster too, right? Which is unusual given kind of how good the team is overall. And Christian Roldan is certainly maybe somebody who's been deserving, maybe could have been in the conversation there.
Yeah, that's a great shot. We can't give Christian Roldan enough love. You didn't see him at the Club World Cup. In many games looked like the best player on the field. And he played PSG and Atletico Madrid. He is just so underappreciated outside. And I had a call with Brian Schmetzer during the week. I worked for LAFC, and I go, man, I know LAFC would love to have a guy like that. And he's like, don't even bring it up, Max. He's not going anywhere because he's from LA. And I go, okay, I'm sorry. And I go, LAFC's not the only one. That's the kind of guy that if anyone added, not that he would leave Seattle, any team would add him, they would get immediately much better, whether it's Austin, LAFC, Cincinnati, Nashville, you name it. Christian Roldan is an absolute Cadillac.
Okay. And then any other players you're looking forward to on the MLS side? Anybody else that kind of jumps out in the roster?
It's some of the guys, I don't know if it's Sam Sturridge. I just want to see, because I never gave him a lot of credit. And just the numbers he's been able to put up and what Nashville and some of the Nashville players were just recently added. Nashville's just been a really good story. And I think that's something that we got to give them their due diligence here. And this is what the All-Star is all about. Oh, I forgot Diego Luna, who's been the poster child here. So Diego Luna is another one we want to see. And he is the All-Star profile, right? He's the guy that can do incredible things with his feet, and he's kind of like that Harlem Globetrotter profile, but he's still so good as a player on the day-to-day. He's going to be a very exciting addition. I think he'll draw a lot of cameras his way, and a guy that quite frankly, we didn't really have in the past in MLS, a young playmaker. And I've talked to more young players, and I think we're at a point where we're going to see more number 10s, more of this attacking type player. And we're not just going to be a country that builds 8s and maybe 6s. We're going to build the number 10 exciting, dynamic player to match what they're doing in South America, because we've had to import so many of those types of players in the past.
Yeah, and I think too with Luna, one-time El Paso Locomotive player. So you have this player who comes up from the USL ranks to do everything that he's doing. It's pretty remarkable there.
Yeah. And you always have to wonder how many players like him didn't get that break, and it's a testament to him because he never gave up. He kept plugging away, and now he has got the attention of the national team coach. He is in the starting 11 for Pablo Mastroeni at Real Salt Lake every time. I talk to Pablo all the time. He's just blown away at the development. So it's just a good lesson if you're a kid there and you feel like you've been ignored. Just keep plugging along. If you believe in yourself, incredible things can happen. So let Diego Luna be your example.
Let him be your North Star. Maybe don't get all the tattoos because that's a lot.
One tattoo's enough. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
have any
Hate
tattoos,
hate
Phil?
on your neck. I do, but I don't have hate on
I
my
don't know
neck.
any.
I want to ask you a little bit about Austin, obviously, because we're an Austin centric podcast. So just you've had a chance to see them here and there this season, and just curious about what you think about their development under Nico Estevez. It's been kind of a strange season. We mentioned Sam Surridge, one of the stats that we are thrown out from time to time. Well, this is not necessarily the case anymore, but at one point last week, Sam Surridge had more goals than all of Austin FC players combined, which is not great. That's obviously been a big story here. But just what are you seeing? What do you think? You're going to see Brad Stuver and his goalkeeping capabilities at the All-Star game. I think certainly he's deserving Lifetime Achievement Award is what we've been calling that. But the offense has been troubled a little bit, and then Vasquez being injured only complicates things further.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what they do to place. And the worst part about Vasquez's injury is that was starting to play like the DP player they were hoping for, and now they have to deal with this, and they're going to have to find a replacement because I don't think they have the personnel to hit the targets, which at this point obviously is make the playoffs, maybe get out of that, maybe finish in that five, six, seven range. Maybe 6-7's more realistic to avoid the wild card. Boston's going to be a team that's going to be competing for those final spots, but that's why the Galaxy win and on the midweek was so important. The obviously Uzuni is someone that they'll need to get more production out of by necessity. He's going to play a lot. I knew we did do the Austin game when they were up in Seattle, and we talked to Nico. It was about finding room for Uzuni, and they were saying, okay, maybe on the left side where Gallagher was, who was filling in Gallagher's Swiss Army knife, that eventually be Uzuni, Vasquez, and Bukhari. And now without Vasquez, we saw Uzuni move a more central role. I don't know if that's his best position, but it's going to have to be the position for now. We've seen development from Bukhari, which is very good. Austin does need to score more goals. That's been a bit of a conundrum. They started there in the end of June and July, but they're going to have to find more. The guy I think is the most compelling figure and someone that Austin can take all the credit for helping develop is Owen Wolf, and he fits that. He's not like Diego Luna, but a kind of creative player, American made, who is in that lineup all the time. I remember talking to Josh, and we always talk about coaching your son. He goes, people don't understand. They think it's easy, how difficult it is for the player when his dad's there because all these things are circulating in his head. And Josh is a great coach. I know he's on the Houston staff. I hope he gets another opportunity as a head coach. I know it didn't end well there at Austin, but maybe the good thing is clearing the runway so that Owen can become his own player, which he's doing right now. And I think we just do it without even thinking, oh, it's Michael Bradley had to deal with this all the time. But Michael Bradley's one of the best players we ever had. He's not playing because it's Bob Bradley's son. There's really very little nepotism in sports there is, but not compared in any other walk of life. You've got to deliver. Sebastian Berhalter's another one. They see he has his name. He goes, self-made player. Owen Wolf is that. And I think Owen Wolf is the kind of guy that on the outside for the 2026 World Cup roster, but I'm watching him because if he can perform and get Austin on his back a little bit, Mauricio Pochettino is going to pay notice because Owen Wolf is trending in that right direction. So he is the most exciting development for Austin FC and a guy that I think is ready for more responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, if the Philippines doesn't snatch up Wolf first, which is a possibility.
That'd be crazy. Oh my God, that'd be crazy. I can't, but that's what I'm saying. He has a U.S. future. He's too young. So the staff at U.S. Soccer has to have those conversations and discourage him. I understand the Philippines, because Philippines, it'll be great. He'd be the guy there. It'll be an uphill battle to make the big tournaments, but that's a good starting spot. But I think U.S. Soccer can't let a guy like that slip through.
Yeah, you did mention that he's young. Of course, like Michael Bradley still had his dad as a coach in his early 30s, which I can't quite imagine, like reverting back to that. But yeah, you mentioned Sebastian Berhalter too, which obviously one-time Austin player, but he's come on. He's going to be again one of those all-star players as well. So yeah, that's exciting to see. And then just otherwise, anybody else with Nico Estevez? I mean, you're familiar with him from his time in Dallas too. He put a lot of emphasis on defense. Transition defense has been one of the things that really troubled Austin last year. And you'd mentioned Josh Wolf and his exit. And I think that kind of contributed a lot to that. There was maybe more of a emphasis on the offense and Wolf system. What do you see defensively out of Austin? Obviously, it starts with Brad Stuver, but when you're not scoring goals, obviously you need to clamp down and avoid getting scored on to get results. And they've been doing that to a degree. Not maybe as much as we would like, but certainly they're keeping themselves in the conversation.
One of the most unexpected stories in the early season was how good Austin FC were when they were getting results and they were plugging away 1-0 wins. Their defense has been real positive. The question is getting goals, but I think we're seeing that now. And for Nico Stevens, it's got to be a good defensive performance when we have a good offensive performance. I think he feels like they're getting a little bit closer with that, but the goals just have been at a premium. But more now than and I'm sure that you don't need me to tell us the Austin FC fans because they're watching these games like where are the shots, where are the opportunities, the data across the board, not where it needs to be for this Austin FC, which invested so much in the offseason. The Brandon Vasquez injury, obviously, I think would put Austin in more of a defense priority. And I'll preface this: you're not going to be a contending team unless you have a good defense. Every coach will tell you that the defense has to come first. 1-0 is a better result than 4-3. You're not going to win many 4-3 games because the amount of goals you allow suggests that you're just too open and inconsistent. When you win these games 1-0 and you get a shutout, that is a great platform. And then you hopefully the goals come. If it's in reverse, you're in a big problem. So that's something positive for Austin FC. As you said, they have a really good goalkeeper in Brad Stuver. I voted him for I was trying to be a little cute, but I voted him for best 11 last season just because of the volume of saves that he had to deal with.
Mhm.
He's been very good. I think what they've been able to build. Brendan Hines-Ike is just somebody that Guilherme Bito. I mean, these are guys with no pedigree that have become lock, stock starters in MLS, and it's been a wonderful development. It's not the sexiest back line by any means. Brad Stuber will tell you he's not the sexiest goalkeeper in football terms, obviously. I'm not talking about his looks, but just the sexiest lineup that you would have. Maybe there's an ability to get a big center back in the offseason or something along those lines. But the defense has delivered. Just finding those things in transition, as you said, that hasn't been a well-oiled machine. They're going to have to find those carriers, those guys that can get that. And if they can strike with some big transitional goals, that'd be great news for Austin. I think that's what they want to do.
So one more question I want to ask you about Austin FC to round things out. I'm wondering if you get dibs on what decision day match you want to get, and wondering if you would be putting in for Austin at San Jose because they had a pretty madcap Open Cup game. Austin now 2 wins from Open Cup as we're being optimistic about their chances there. Crazy game. 120 minutes, no goals from open play, and yet Austin pulls that out. So just the thoughts on that burgeoning rivalry. It literally got bloody, and they've still got 2 more regular season games to go, including that decision day match, which could make a big difference. It could be something that either decides playoff places or could be a preview of an 8-9 play-in matchup. That's where they are right now in the standings, pretty much.
I haven't looked at decision day too much. I try to keep off the wavelength, and I've been blessed with very good schedule. So the folks at MLS have been very generous to me and Brian Dunseth. So I try not to put in too many requests. I did have a request on occasion. My brother lives in North Carolina, so next weekend I'm going to do Charlotte, Toronto, so I could be there for his 50th birthday. And that's about it. Otherwise, I keep away from the requests. Generally will be the West Coast. As I look at the games for decision day, I think San Jose Austin might be one of the 2 or 3 I'd be under consideration for. And if I need to I'd be happy to go there. I love the last time I went to San Jose, I did the game, and 2 days earlier, I rented a car and drove into Yosemite. Nice. It's a good week. Or one of the beach areas down there. It's beautiful up there in NorCal. It's too far to drive from LA. I would say maybe Colorado LAFC would be under consideration. I'd say one of those 2. We'll see how it goes. We'll get our assignments for that sometime, I imagine, early September. But if I get San Jose Austin, to your point, Phil, I think that's going to be very desirable because we can already guarantee here in July that is going to carry some weight. For one, probably both.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a natural kind of regional rivalry like a Dallas or a Houston, but there is definitely some contentiousness between those teams, kind of like we talked about with LA too. I guess they gotta have it with all the California teams right now. But
we force so much stuff in MLS with rivalries and stuff. Anything that comes organically is gold. So we see these players and clubs that other clubs and players dislike or look forward to playing. That's fantastic. That it happens without any marketing or PR whatsoever.
Well, great. I'm glad to have you here. This was fun.
By the way, I want to add one more question. I need to get a good cowboy hat too, or a nice hat,
Okay.
a Stetson or something along that line. So any recommendations?
I do have a hat recommendation. It's more of a cowboy boot recommendation. There's a place called Tacovas. They have a flagship
Oh
store on
yeah,
South Congress
I was
from
going to go
Tacovas.
South
Okay.
Congress, but
Nice. Okay. Yeah, there's some spots there. So you can get yourself.
that's not too touristy, right? If you go there and you get a hat, you're not going to go look at this guy. He's from LA.
It is
Well,
and
maybe a
it
little bit.
isn't. I mean, if you're a guy from SoCal and you're shopping for cowboy hats, you're already sort of in tourist mode, but it's fine. As Lyle
All right,
Lovett says, Texas wants you anyway.
Oh, right on. That's Texas, best people. Then what else can you say? And by the way, we mentioned the amount of Texas music that I listened to. I was actually at the Hollywood Bowl and they had Leon Bridges
Mm,
and Gentleman. It's a lot of great music coming from there.
yep.
Khruangbin, who's from Houston.
Yep.
You would not be all this music coming from Texas, not just country western or southern. It's unbelievable. This mix of it's. I don't think anyone can touch Texas right now with some of the original music that's coming out. And obviously, Austin's a great place to see music of all variety. So maybe time permitting, there'll be a show or small or large for me when I get there.
Nice. Yeah. Hopefully you can get that on your dance card and looking forward to seeing you in the fourth floor hallways there on a Wednesday. Are you calling skills challenge too, or just the game?
I believe we are. We are.
Oh,
That's
nice.
going to be, honestly, that's what I'm looking forward to a little bit because that's where you can have a lot more fun and take the edge off, put your guard down as a broadcaster because if they're having fun, you're having fun. So
Yeah.
I've called that in the past. I remember when it was in Orlando when I was with ESPN. So looking forward to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ridiculous, but it's part of the fun.
It is.
Part of the
That's the
endeavor.
word for it.
Okay. I'm sure I'll bump into you during the week and really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.
Appreciate that, Phil, and look forward to
Okay.
seeing you and everyone in Austin.
This is the best thing I've heard in the history of the 8 years I've been on this planet.